Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kinks. I want to start tonight's episode very special, very different. Imagine a dark night, laying alone in your room, when suddenly you hear a presence. You know you're not alone. You look, you see a creature, but it's not a creature. It's a man. Do you flee? Do you scream? No. You unexpectedly accept the situation. Suddenly the man is upon you. You feel at peace and aroused. Your heart is racing. He lifts back your neck, takes a deep bite, and you're suddenly filled with the most undescribable pleasure and pain at the same time. Your eyes roll back, and hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kinks. I'm your host, John Dondero, and with me tonight, as always, a very stunned, a very shocked Miss Rebecca.
I'm over here like, I don't quite know what to think. I'm like, okay. Hello, everyone.
And a man who was just like, I'm just here for the paycheck, Mr. Shep.
Wait, you don't get paid?
Right.
Good evening.
Sorry, I wanted to try something new. I wanted to spice things up a little bit.
You have entered
we've
the
got
kinky zone.
We have this brand
is
new.
that where we are today, folks?
No, we have this fetish, and I really wanted to take a bite out of it and just like really lean into it. Yeah, this is one we can all sink our teeth in.
I feel like this is sucking me dry already.
Mm-hmm.
Both of ya. Both of ya.
I had actually been thinking about doing that intro all day long. I was just like, all right, here we go.
You were so excited about it. I was just going to let it happen.
You didn't know it was going to happen. Both of you were just like, what is happening?
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah,
So, if you can't...
He's doing it again.
Again, that was the very first time I have ever changed the intro of this podcast.
You're right.
It has been the exact same hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Dinks with Kinks.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Right?
Are you okay with this? Are you feeling alright?
I
I'm
did
feeling
I
good.
consent to
John.
that? Wait, did we consent to that? Wait. I didn't get a discussion. I did not consent to changing the intro. We need to talk.
Did you not? Oh my god. It was like there was a predator in this room. Before we dive in tonight,
I liked it, but come on, at least have a conversation with me first.
Oh, absolutely. Well, conversation is important. And just like any conversation, I do want to remind everyone that we are, in fact, on social media. Follow us at Dinks with Kinks on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Reach out, talk to us, start the conversation. Tell us what you think. If you were just as offended about me changing the intro, I need to hear about it. I need that feedback so I know never to do it again. Or did you like it? Do you want a little bit more of it?
We're not offended. We just don't know how we feel about it. We'll process it.
Yeah. Well,
We need to process.
As you could tell from the intro, or you couldn't tell, we're talking about vampirism today. Vampires and the like.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, so make sure it doesn't suck.
Well,
But it's
I know Shep is a huge fan of the Twilight sagas. How do you feel about them, Rebecca?
The Twilight Sagas or vampires?
The Twilight. Just let's go ahead and get this out in the open. Let's get this done with, so we don't have to make another reference about it all night long.
Oh my god, I'm gonna be ridiculed forever. I read the entire series. I read the series and watched all the movies. I actually liked Twilight. I am not like a huge fan, but I am definitely Team Jacob.
Oh wow! Right in the face of the vampires. That's cool. They're listening right now, so you have just insulted our entire audience. That's cool. That's bold move.
Oh my god!
Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out.
Oh my goodness!
I've seen the very first one. I didn't even watch all of it. Okay, I saw parts of the first one, And I think a couple scenes where like the baby imprints and the werewolf dude is like, me and the baby are meant to be. And I'm like, dude, that's a baby. Stop it with yourself. Get out of here.
But I do love vampires. I'm actually a huge vampire fan.
Yes. Vampires have been around since we could tell tall tales and scary stories. Some form of vampire has been around. Everything from Nosferatu to Dracula to Anne Rice. Oh, Anne Rice has done many things popular for that fetish. And the Twilight Saga. Okay, you have your hand raised for an audio podcast. Go ahead, Rebecca.
I'm raising my hand because you were talking, and I was gonna wait till you finished so that you knew I had something to say. Anne Rice I love her. I love her works. She is one of my favorite vampire authors. But fun fact, she writes erotica. She actually wrote a whole series of erotica. She wrote it under a pseudonym, and then when erotica became popular and mainstream, she came out and republished it in her own name.
Very awesome. I mean, I've read Interview with a Vampire. I'm telling you right now, she wrote erotica mainstream well before she ever wrote erotica.
That's true.
Shep, what about you? What is your take on vampires in general?
I generally enjoy them. Yeah. Even back even back in my old gaming days and such, and even online DJing days, the persona I was in those games was the vampire type. So many a role playing of that such.
Oh,
I actually, the only role-playing game I ever played, my only RPG, Masquerade, Vampire Masquerade.
I will say this, I am a pretty big fan of vampires. I do like the Anne Rice series, everything from Queen of the Damned to Interview with a Vampire, and I like how they're all kind of intertwined, but very standalone. Like, you don't need one to other. That was very brilliant writing. But let's talk more about the kink of vampirism and how it's not just about vampires. I do research for every episode and like really dive deep into kinks, and this goes everywhere. I go deep.
Do you go deep?
All right. Let me ask y'all, what do you think the core concepts of this fetish are?
Mystery. Consent, non-consent?
Consensual non-consent? Yep, you got one?
Passing of energies, perhaps?
Energies? Yeah, there you go.
And bloodletting a little bit probably in there too, yeah.
Blood play, yeah.
Yeah, blood play.
You guys are actually, you guys are really hitting on point because, if you look at a cursory glance, of any kink and you throw in the word vampire, people will think, one, role play, two, biting of the neck, and just general Halloweeny. And there's so much more to just what this fetish is and what it dives into. And it covers more than just your typical vampires. I mean, we're talking succubuses, thralls, domination, submission, consensual non-consent. Again, very massive amounts of role play, spiritual energies, all sorts of things. And I was kind of like blown away just about how in depth these kinks can go down. Like, when we do an episode, we try to keep it in like 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't know if I could talk about vampires for 30 minutes. Like, only 30 minutes and still cover a tenth of what is installed. Not with all the puns we do. We had too many puns, and I'm not going to change that. I'm sorry. I need them.
Okay.
Puns are my kink.
Vampirism 2. Double sink in deeper or something.
Oh, I was thinking Vampire 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
Oh my god.
But with vampirism, I think the main goal is it's very much a subdom role play. Not necessarily dubstep. Yeah, real good dubstep. Subdom role play. Not your traditional subdom, but very primal and
Yes.
very I want to say, like, in the guise of this kink, it's not a permanent relationship, sub-dom relationship. It is more of a CNC or even consensual victim predator.
Well, yes, in vampire lore and just the vampire, more the fantasy, it's a I have a very large vampire kink. I think vampires are hot. I like the whole biting, that whole thing. But it's very much for me that whole compulsion. Compulsion is when the vampire controls your mind, controls your actions, controls everything you're doing, and you have no control over that. So it's that release and role play that they are taking away your free will, and you have to do everything that they say, and you have no control. There's no fighting against it. It's just obeying.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just very hot about that.
Hypnotism. I mean, I know we've talked. I know that is on our will to talk about, but this actually plays a big part in this kink because, and like I said in the intro, like you were, feel powerless, but you're pretty okay with it. A lot of lore with vampires is that old, Dracula style where he would look into your eyes and you would feel both fear but acceptance, and you'd be wanting what was happening. So it was very like hypnotic. And I think a lot of the roleplay does stem in a hypnosis-based fetish of I am consenting against my will. But so it's consensual non-consent, consent. That makes sense?
I think yes. And I also think it's that whole vampires live for centuries, long periods of time, and they want you. They have come across many people in their lifetimes and they want you. And there's something empowering and it makes you feel very sexy and desired when you think about somebody who could have and has had over the centuries, somebody, in every type of woman or man in any type of walk of life, and they want you. Like, there's something really hot about that.
Yeah. I love it when old people want me.
Of course, in this day and age, you've been alive how many centuries? When's the last time you got tested? When's
that testing going on?
Shep would be the one.
Yeah,
Shep would be the one to ask the vampire, "When was the last time you were tested?"
Also, like, your hygiene, because you were probably changed. You did upgrade that as time went on, right? Like, you picked up the standards. I think we've all seen What We Do in the Shadows. If you haven't, you should check it out. Not sponsors, but still a good show. And really great movie. But, yeah, it's just like, how old are you?
I mean, all new episodes, in fact. Not sponsored.
Yeah. How old are you? 300? I don't know.
A little young for me.
You're a little old for me there, Gramps. Yeah. Because I think after a certain age, that's pedophilia, even if I'm 38. Yeah.
Okay, we have questions. I have questions. All
right, go ahead.
Okay.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole too much.
No,
Okay?
Let's not actually. Let's talk about that
Yeah,
podcast.
let's move along. We got too much to talk about that. We got too much.
Reel it in, kids. Reel it in.
But yeah, the hypnosis, the role play, the allure of the lore. And I think that is very much because when you think of monsters, and vampires are in fact monsters, they're inhuman creatures that are still human, but they're not like zombies. No one's getting like, zombie boners or anything like that, unless you're Tina from Bob's Burgers. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be covering zombies, but it is still very much like cold, collect predator. Like, it triggers that primal fear, that adrenaline of you literally murder and eat people. But you're not going to murder me. You're just going to feed on me. You're going to take my essence and transfer that. And that's I can get behind that's some really sexy hot role play. It's
Let's go ahead and answer the
I
question
also-
now, everyone. They don't go blah blah blah.
Blah, blah, blah. We don't say blah, blah, blah.
Real vampires don't blah blah blah.
Blah blah blah. I also
How you know? You ever met a
I
real vampire?
mean, how
They
do you
might
know?
go blah, blah, blah.
Maybe. I also think about when you think about vampires in the media and just vampires in general, like when they are feeding on you, when they are taking your essence or whatever. And there's that mix of CNC, but at the same time, that pleasure in the pain. And I think that that's also a very big part for me about vampire. John's dying. So the pleasure and the pain when they bite your neck, they feed on you, and they do that stuff, and just how you see it in the movies and you read about it in the books, and you think about that, and how that pain but that coursing pleasure that runs through your body at the same time. And I find that very appealing in that role play of, you know, finding that just like deep desire and that deep feeling of pleasure and feeling that sting of pain all at the same time. And that's hot.
Yes. It may start off with a little prick, but it's not over quick.
Support for Dinks with Kinks is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate in men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with an exclusive offer just for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DWK20 at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's like 12 million balls. So let me get personal with you guys. I'm going to be honest, I have used some pretty sketchy means to get rid of the hair down there. I have done everything from wax, those rusted scissors that you always find in your bathroom. I don't even know how they get there, and that cream that burns the hair off and turns you into just a giant chemical burn for like a week. Then I found Manscaped. Their Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and oh man, is it a game changer. Inside the package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all those goodies. And they all fit perfectly in there. Oh my god. First off, that Lawnmower 4.0, that trimmer is of the future. It's probably one of the best ball trimmers I've ever used down there, and I have used every manner of hair trimmer down there, including the one I use on my face, which is kind of gross when you think about it. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof and also has a 4,000 LED spotlight for when you need a precise shave. And trust me, fellas, you don't think you need a flashlight till you get down there and you're like, oh, it's lit up. I'm loving this. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess of the bathroom floor. Just pop that sucker in the shower and just bzz, 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 bzz. You thought that was good? But I want to take your grooming game even further, to the next level. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is a waterproof, provides their proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs of those delicate nose hairs. And trust me, getting to my age, you get some nose hairs in there, and you try to hide them in your beard, you can't. You can't do it. There's no mustache concealment. You just got to get in there and take care of them. You just stick that sucker in and go to town. Their Crop Preserver, ball deodorant, and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Trust me when I say this, fellas, your balls will thank you. I used that stuff, and oh my god, did it smell amazing. And it actually really helped with like day-to-day chafing. I didn't realize chafing was a thing. Like, I was one of those people who's like, oh, I'm never chafing, until I tried this stuff, and I was like, okay, apparently I have just been uncomfortable for 40 years. Cool. Glad to know. Manscaped is not only going to give you all of that, but they're going to throw 2 free gifts in their Performance Package 4.0. The Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. those boxers are incredibly comfortable. They snug everything, and it makes it actually look pretty good. So, you want to wear them around, just look yourself in the mirror and be like, oh yeah. Anyway, it's time to take care of yourself. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the code DWK20. I'm telling you guys, get 20% off and free shipping with the code DWK20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com, DWK20. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tool for the right tool at manscaped.com. Now, back to our show. Well, when you talk about, like, we've talked about blood play in the past and stuff like that. It's very personal. It's very, sort of intimate. It's an intimate experience when you're, going to something of that level, like between biting and biting with purpose. It's not biting to just cause pain, but like to feed. So you have all these levels of intimacy in roleplay. Like, most people, when they fantasize, and I say most people, not all people, don't really pick the 30 days and 30 days of night vampires, where they just gash open your neck and drink you like a soda. But it's very much more. I mean, if you've seen 30 Days of Night, they are
like a pop
brutal.
top and drink away.
Oh yeah, they don't care. They're not like, we're not gonna bite your neck. We're gonna decapitate you and tip you up. But most people do very much that very personal vampire, that very romanticized, personal and intimate feeling between two people. And I think a lot of that lure comes from that. When there's no other predator in the world that when it feeds is that intimate. And that you could potentially survive from. I mean, like, no one gets that excited about a mosquito, but still. I feel like if vampire bites itched, people wouldn't be into vampires. Because, I mean, what's the difference between a vampire and a mosquito? Mosquito bites itch.
And
or if
one's an
they can get
insect.
infected or rashy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Swell
but,
up like a balloon.
Yeah, but I feel like if vampire bites caused that, we would be like, nah, I don't want to get bit by no vampire.
I don't have my EpiPen with me tonight. No.
No, yeah. Mm-mm. You could be coming West Nile. You could be carrying West Nile. I don't need that.
Oh my god.
But it is that very intimate moment of, and especially since, you can't really hypnotize as a vampire. Vampires aren't real that we know of. Don't at me, vampires. Don't come at me and be like, no, we are real. I'm fine not knowing. Don't interview the vampire with me. Show up in the back of my car and be like, let me tell you my story. I'd be like, I don't need to know your story. But so I know, Rebecca, you want that to happen to you.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I mean, I know I showed on my face. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You want to tell me your story?
No, you don't need to show up in the back of my car. I'm not gonna write it down. But so it is very much a role play. So when you role play that, it is very intimate and almost on a spiritual level, because you are giving away to the belief in this lore, this mystique. And I'm fascinated by that. Like, I love suspension of disbelief, and I love someone can get so passionate and so intimate on so many different levels. This is, when you think you're covering something like vampirism, you're like, oh, this is going to be easy. We're going to talk about vampires. We're going to say blah, blah, blah a bunch of times and make Twilight jokes. And then you really research into it, and you're like, there is so much substance in this kink. And it involves so many outside kinks.
It does.
Yeah, it's like a roleplay melding with either primal, get the fantasy roleplay addition to that, or blood play, fantasy roleplay on top of that. So it's like the melding of, or the spicing up of your baseline fetishes with roleplay and fantasy.
Yeah.
It's roleplay razzmatazz, and I love it. I'm all about it.
Roleplay razzmatazz.
Roleplay razzmatazz. Well, I mean, there's also something to be said to the, I don't want to say nostalgia, but childlike wonder. Like, it does make you feel young again. In the sense of, we all grew up hearing stories of vampires, and adolescence and vampirism, man, they go hand in hand. So even no matter how old you get, if you're still into vampires, and you can't deny it, when you have that thing, you do feel young at heart. You feel that youth, that thrill that you did when you were a kid, of those thoughts you had of like, well, what if I saw a real vampire? I can't role play with vampires because I have a Van Helsing kink, and I'll just have to murder the vampires.
Yeah, and there are times when you could classify people as having like a vampiric gaze effect on people, in the sense of, you know, if you look at somebody in just the right way and they squirm or giggle or can't look at you, or in that way, and it just makes them so excited just because you're looking at them that way. That can also be interpreted as that more primal vampiric style gaze.
You want to hear a fun story?
Yeah.
I wrote and directed a vampire comedy, dark comedy. If you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, it's actually on our YouTube channel. It's called The Blog of the Apathetic Vampire.
Oh my God.
And it stars another BSBN member, our resident elder being Nev, as a vampire hunter. Me as the Renfield, the Rennie. And our wonderful Chris played the female vampire, Tax, I think that was her name. And it's actually very funny. It's very cute. It takes all the things you think about vampires, and then you're like, but imagine if vampires were just really depressed. Yeah, just like, I've got all this power, but I hate Mondays.
I think for me, the appeal of vampires is now there I'm gonna show my nerd right here. Okay, so there are different types of vampires, just like there are different types of any type of monster, and so you know, you have different types of personalities, but the ones that appeal to me, the vampire fantasies.
Let me guess. Can I take a real good guess at this? Let me really throw it out there.
Sure. Okay.
You are old school Nosferatu. You want that bald dude with the big ears who looks all creepy in black and white. Nosferatu.
No.
It's like tomato and tomato.
Hey, listen,
more Bram Stoker. Mine's more Bram Stoker. Like.
So you want a little bit of Gary Oldman? I can. That.
Well, who doesn't? But
yeah, right.
it's for me, it's the sophisticated vampire, the one that's lived many centuries, and everything is very deliberate. Everything is very calculated and calm, and his obsession, the vampire's obsession, like when they fall in love, they fall hard, and when they want you, and it's animalistic, but in a way that is so controlled and patient. Like, it's that controlling dom, that pleasure dom that's like, I am going to take my time with you, and we're going to that's the part that's appealing to me, the control of that, the very calm and collected. And I'm into primal, don't get me wrong, like, throw me up against the wall, that's great, but like that's what appeals to me about the vampire fantasy and the vampire kink, is the control and have that type of vampire. So,
and I think at the root, that's what it is. This is very sub-dom, primal, with a side of roleplay. And it's just good fun. There's no wrong way to be vampire roleplay. Now, I want to talk some safety real quick, because we do that when we have any episode where you can cause bodily harm. Though vampires cannot catch diseases from blood, they can eat all kinds of weird crap. You can. So anytime you use any type of blood play, please exercise caution and be aware of bloodborne pathogens. They are a real thing, and any type of open wound, blood play, or anything of that nature can cause disease or illness and infection. So if you're gonna do blood play, honestly, go back and listen to our episode on blood play, and do more research to find out how to do safely. Shep, is there anything you want to add to the safety features? Also, avoid garlic.
Oh, God.
But that's a breath issue. That's a breath. No one wants garlic neck.
Unless you're into that.
Unless you really like some garlic bread. Then I'm like,
I do really
it
like
smells
garlic
so
bread.
tasty.
Could never be a vampire. Garlic bread is too delicious.
But
I think that. Oh, sorry.
okay. No, ladies first.
I think the thing that to remind people of the whole blood play, and we did talk about this in the blood play thing, but for those if you hadn't listened, just a short thing. It's not just about STIs. It's also about you don't know what somebody's blood. It can really open wounds, all those things. It's so much more than just sexually transmitted infections. So just make sure that you think about that in the forefront when you're dealing with blood play and also vampires, the vampire role play is great, but also think about where vampires bite. They bite in major artery and vein areas, and that can, if you damage one of those, you could also bleed externally as well as internally. So also be very careful about where in the body you are participating in this blood play.
Yes.
Very, very good advice. We don't want anyone bleeding to death playing Twilight or Bram Stoker or Anne Rice. Let's be honest. Let's play some Anne Rice, okay? Let's stick there. That was good. We nailed it. Yeah. Yes, we nailed it there. Yeah. You're not going to get any better.
And, focused on the blood play and stuff like that, but we also do know that within this fetish and the vampirisms, there's the subcategories of like the energy, vampire, and the emotional as well.
Well, go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
They're of course the safer realms as far as infections and all that, because there is no blood play involved.
How would a like spiritual or emotional vampire feed?
The energy vampire is someone that experiences or is really interconnected with the things and beliefs of, like, say, chakras or chakra energy. And I know we heard concepts of like Reiki massage, the actual massages, which is an energy massage, not a body massage. So the energies and auras of the universe, as it were. A fun fact being the fact of previous years, some actual vampires loved me because it seems I'm quite the energy extrusion producer type person. So there were one or two in particular that loved being around me.
I could honestly see you being
I mean, I won't say names,
very
but
energetic
you
person.
actually know them as well, but we haven't seen
Oh,
them
I'm
in a
sure I
while.
do. But when I think Shep, I do think exudes energy.
Especially after when I'm starting to get into this cross and sessions and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, no, I
That's a different
tease because you're usually very quiet. But yeah, I can honestly, knowing you outside of this podcast, I can absolutely see that. But I can also make the joke of, you must be fed on often.
But yeah, it's definitely a more energy transference type. And these people also are types that tend to feel like they're often run down in their daily lives and such, unless they have someone to kind of absorb or energy from others. It's like they almost have hard to word it in this point. But it's just like they can't produce their own internalized energies, motivations, and stuff like that, so they glean them from others.
So Starbucks is just not cutting it. You need somebody else's
Starbucks
energy.
doesn't cut it as their caffeine. It's people and presence.
All right.
The
Well, you know
emotional
what? I
vampires,
like that.
That's the one you got to worry about, because sometimes it's
I call
okay.
listen. I call those children.
Yeah, see.
They sap all the happiness out of me.
That's what it is.
I kid.
It's the children.
I kid. My kids are great. But yeah, no, I get that. And like I said, we could go on and on and on about vampires.
Yeah.
We
That's
could
why we'll have to
do, you know,
number two
eventually.
sometime.
Yeah, I think eventually in a season or two, we'll have to put this back on the bill and then go back and listen to what we talked about, and then just
Especially
add
if we
on
can
to
get
that.
some guests that are experience it. Understand.
Oh yeah, dude, I would. You know what? I take it back, vampire. Show up in the back of my car, tell me your story. We'll have you on guest. We'll be like, no, don't tell me your story. Come be on the podcast. We're gonna talk about it there. It's okay. We record at night. I know it comes out Sunday morning, but we record at night, so you're covered. That being said, I need to know. I am a kink vampire. I need more kink in my life. I need to talk about. I need to find out what we're talking about next week.
Okay.
What are we gonna feed on next week? It definitely won't suck.
I mean,
I love how
that
we
sound very
pause
fun.
and we're just like looking at him, just waiting.
Well, speaking of number twos and sequels to episodes, we are next week. We are definitely covering something we've talked about before. We are recovering a subject. You know, this is something very personal and deep to me. It's actually our second most downloaded episode of all time, and have the most requested for cover up because I was the only person in that episode who's actually a cast member on this podcast. You guys still don't know what it is.
No.
I'm the only one who listens to our podcast.
You had a lot of technical
I've
difficulties.
listened to our podcast.
Shep is right. There was a lot of technical difficulties in episode 1. That's back when we were a live streaming podcast, which we do live stream still today.
Nylons?
Separately every Friday. Yep. We're covering
Nylons.
pantyhose and nylons.
I was like,
part
technical
2.
difficulties. Oh, yay! Okay, awesome. I get to be a part of
Yeah.
Nylons. Woo!
You do.
Done your business.
You and Shep.
I know,
Because
yeah,
the
Shep
first
wasn't
time we
here.
did it, the first time we did it, we were still technically a live stream podcast. We weren't audio only. We have since brought the live streams back every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/thedondero, link below. You can come watch us and chat with us. But this is an episode I've been wanting to redo for a long while, or add to, because, like I said, we had so many technical difficulties, and we were still so young as a podcast. We were podcast babies.
Yeah.
We were
I
little-
wasn't
I
even
was-
there. I wasn't even alive. I wasn't even
weren't alive?
alive.
No. That's how
If
long
you were
we've been doing
podcast
this
babies,
podcast.
I wasn't alive. I wasn't. Yeah, we were centuries. We've been doing this for centuries.
100 years. 100 years of
It's not the time yet.
podcast.
That's part 2.
Which was really weird for podcasters, since there was like 100 years ago, there wasn't really stuff you could podcast on. So we would just find people and talk to them. Be like, shh, listen to our little show.
Okay.
Yeah.
People talk
Yeah,
face
that's
to
how we
face.
did
Oh.
Yeah. It's hot garbage, and I'll have none of it.
No.
That said, I want to thank my wonderful host, a woman we'd all like to take a little bite out of, Miss Rebecca. And a man
Good evening, everyone.
who definitely would bite, but definitely doesn't suck, Mr. Shep.
But I nibble well. Till next time.
Nibbles. Get them nibbles. Good night, everybody.